Good evening. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, or lease, be it commercial, residential, as well as, well, what other types of properties do we have? Have I got them all covered? Office, right? Agriculture. Yes, that's the one that I missed. Agriculture, residential, or commercial. This particular conversation of Talk With is one you don't want to miss. And tonight on Talk With, we're talking with Bryan Mushota, who is the president of the Zambia Institute of Real Estate Agents, which is ZIEA. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
Yes.
Fine, thank you.
Yes.
And yourself?
I am very well, thank you. I'm
Great.
excited to have you on the show. And before the show started, we had a good conversation. So I'm really excited to speak with you and share the conversation with the wider audience. So tonight, we are talking about real estate management and the cost of rentals. And so getting right into it, Bryan, you're from ZIEA, the Zambia Institute of Real Estate Agents. So just help us understand exactly what the Institute does. What is ZIEA?
Okay, the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents was formed by an Act of Parliament, the Estate Agents Act, number 21 of 2000. So it's the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents. You remove the real estate, we drop the real estate there.
Okay.
Yeah, an Act of Parliament. It was formed around the year 2000 when a couple of valuation surveyors and land professionals got together in light of the coming on of the new government of President Chilula. That was the Third Republic. Prior to that, the real estate market had been strongly controlled by the state. And when the economy was liberalized, it called for professionals to really look into the issue of land and real estate management.
Right. I like that you give us a bit of history talking about the liberalization of the economy and just how that changed so many things.
Absolutely.
For the first time in a long, long time, a lot more Zambians became homeowners, and there was that much people's balance sheets increased. They now
Absolutely.
owned these lifelong assets. So before we get into the type of property and real estate, what exactly, you're talking about the fact that this was, the creation of ZIEA was promoted by the times and there was a need. And so when it comes to the mission statement of ZIEA, you're here to enhance the good practice as well as conduct of the real estate industry. So how have you been going about doing this since inception?
Okay, so firstly, ZIEA, everybody who is involved in the real estate business of selling or leasing on behalf of is supposed to be registered by our institution. So we register, train, and regulate estate agents and agency in Zambia. So once you come on board ZIEA, we will register you. You apply to be a member. You enter ZIEA under a certain category, student category, and then we will train you. Then you move on to another category, and then after you are attached to a mentor, after a couple of years, then you are able to be a fully fledged long-standing estate agent, and then we will regulate your conduct, regulate what you can do and what you cannot do. So we are, as a statutory body, we are a self-regulating body. I know right now there is talk of the media, you guys in the media, and setting up of a body to regulate yourselves. So it's something similar, except we were earlier than you guys.
You're a bit more older than us in that regard. So you talk about ZIEA having all these channels of progression. So one may come as a student, and then they get seasoned as they move along through the particular channels. So what exactly is the course that one applies for? So what is the content of moving from student to now being qualified?
Okay, so a few people have likened our training to an academic study. It's not an academic study. We can liken it to your going through ZIEA for our colleagues in the legal profession. So regardless of whether you have...
It's a professional qualification.
Qualification. Regardless of whether you have a certificate, a diploma, a degree, a first degree, second degree, you're a professor, you will all go through the same level of competency training. It's for you to prove yourself that as I get into this work, into this business, I'm going to adhere to these parameters which you have set out, and we need to know that you have crossed over.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there a set amount of years, or do people take it at their own pace? Is there a set limit of time in which one can finish?
It's probably one of the easiest professional competency courses in the country, because you, from start to finish, you can do it over a period of less than 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
And you are good enough to do the job?
Yes, from when you finish, it's on 2 levels. Once you do your second level, then you are attached to a senior professional, senior estate agent.
Which is the mentor-mentee relationship you talked about.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so you mentored for after about 2 to 3 years, then you can stand on your own. You know, real estate is a business which has people's life savings. For most of us, owning a property or buying land is probably the biggest investment we'll ever make. And you don't want to deal with people's life savings, hard-earned monies or loans with people who are half-baked.
Right. And I like that you talk about the fact that there's mentorship and it's something that you monitor.
Yeah.
So what, in the event that someone wants to, say, become a... So what's the term called when you pass through the channels? You become an agent or an agency if you're creating a body?
Well, membership is on two tiered.
Okay.
So there's the individual membership,
Right.
and there's the corporate membership.
Right.
But you cannot be a corporate member without being
An individual
member.
Right.
So the promoter or the director or the shareholder of that company, at least one of them has to be a fully fledged registered estate agent. Right. So once you go through all the stages and you can stand on your own, you are allowed to carry the title MZIEA, member of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents.
Okay.
So you can add that to your qualifications.
Okay. And so I'm interested in the qualification. What is the minimum requirement for someone to come forward to say, I would like to enroll and I would like to, at the end of this course, have the letters MZIEA at the end of my name? So is it grade 12? Can I be fresh out of high school and come and say, look, I would like to go through this training?
Yes. The minimum qualification is, of course, a full grade 12 certificate or higher qualification. So, you know, most people, it's a fairly new profession in Zambia. So I think there's very few people straight out of school would say, I would want to be an estate agent. Right. I think we're still quite far in Zambia from people just setting out to say, I would like to be an estate agent. Most of the members of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents are coming out of graduates from the universities that we have. I think before we only had the Copperbelt University that was offering a degree in land economy, which is now called real estate management. I think it's a BSc in real estate management. So Copperbelt University was the only institution offering that, but now there's quite a number of private colleges that have come on, including the University of Lusaka.
Right. Okay. And that's good. So 2 universities. So
At least.
if you've just joined us, you're watching Talk With, and we're talking with Mr. Bryan Mushota, who is the president of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents. And we're just talking about the work that you do, and you've mentioned that ZIEA in Zambia hasn't seen that many new entrants, like straight out of school, coming into the program. And with the work that you're doing, how does ZIEA fare when you compare other bodies regionally? So what's happening in other countries with regard to real estate?
Okay. In my other work, in addition to being the president of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents, I'm a qualified surveyor or estate surveyor, if you like. So I get to work and interact with a number of colleagues in the region. But much recently, I was privileged to interact with our colleagues in Botswana in late last year, 2019. And it's interesting to see what is happening there. I interact a lot with South Africa, and I've got links as well with, across continents. Of course, the Zambian real estate industry is only about 20 years, because our act was only passed 2000. Yeah, so only about 20 years this year. So it's a fairly young industry. Obviously, we spoke historically about what happened to real estate being banned under KK, our good old first president. We were in a sort of communist, socialist, hybrid humanism, where we Zambianized most of our economy. And then when we liberalized it, that's when we could say we restarted, because we can't count the years that,
it wasn't possible to have a body such as this.
Absolutely.
Right. So from what I'm hearing, you do in part leverage on other expertise from people regionally. You have relationships to see what those who have been there a little bit longer are doing in the market. So what are the challenges that you face in executing your mandate?
Yeah, before we get to that, I'd like to just highlight one thing, that our council, which is the governing council of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents, focuses is innovation and greater stakeholder engagement. So we're trying to leverage technology, as well as relationships both with regional bodies, as well as government organizations and similar professional bodies. Your various professionals around the Surveyors Institute of Zambia.
So you work hand in hand with other professions that
absolutely
make real estate, make estate agents work easier, or
absolutely a lot with surveyors,
I can
valuation surveyors, as well as lawyers.
Yes, definitely lawyers. Yeah, when it comes to issues of estates, land, and leases, you definitely need a legal eye. Yeah. So getting back to the challenges that ZIEA faces with executing its mandate, what are some of the challenges faced?
Okay, our greatest challenge at the moment is the briefcase estate agent.
Right, we're gonna get to those. Yes.
Yeah. That's one of our challenges. Of course, resources, both human as well as capital. We are, as I mentioned earlier, we are self-regulating, and therefore we only depend on members' subscriptions to fund our operations. We are not just an organization for Lusaka. We are countrywide. I'm not just the ZIEA president for Lusaka. I'm a ZIEA president for the whole of Zambia.
What's the membership? What about how many people, numbers, individual?
Right now, we're just under 1,000 estate agents. But if you look at how many estate agents just for Lusaka who are practicing.
Right. I'm surprised, because 20 years in, you only have 1,000 registered.
Absolutely.
That's very worrying. Before we go further, for me, I'm just likening it to accounting. I can't
Right.
imagine if there were only 1,000 registered accountants,
Yeah.
but you have a market where there are so many accountants doing the job, you know. So that I can understand how that's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge. When our term of office started about a year ago, we did not set out to immediately start enforcing the law because we're backed by law.
Right.
It is illegal for one to conduct or masquerade as an estate agent without being registered with our body. But we put out an olive branch for a couple of weeks, and we said, colleagues.
Was this in the year 2020? Or initially?
2019 into 2020, up to the end of February 2020.
Grace
period, yeah. Okay. We had, I think, almost 6 months, about 5-6 months. And as we were just about starting to enforce the law, COVID came in and disrupted everything. So we are still on course. We have a memorandum of understanding between the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents ourselves, the Zambia Police, as well as the National Prosecution Authority. Mm-hmm. So the law enforcers and the prosecutors know about our work and what we are about. So very soon we invite you, the media, to see some of the people who have been practicing illegally get penalized.
Right. And so are you in a position to say what type of penalties will be slapped on those practicing without belonging to ZIEA?
Well, the Estate Agent Act number 21 stipulates all the penalties that one risks being slapped with once they are found guilty. Obviously, we are not dictatorial, so if they are found to be practicing illegally, the due process of the law, will kick in. Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about the real estate market, we're talking about experts and we're talking about agents. So what are the benefits of engaging with actual people who belong to the body? Because a lot of people would think, let me cut the middleman, or let me just directly do this, or I know a guy or I know a lady who has done this before. So what is the benefit of going through what we would say is the proper channel?
Yeah, firstly, as Africans, I think we don't like paying for stuff.
No, we do not like to pay for stuff.
So, but we need to change. The world is getting global. We need to learn to let the various professionals play their part. Mm-hmm. So be it the lawyer in terms of drawing up contracts and leases, be it the architects, the surveyors, the estate agents, the valuers. We need to learn to let everybody
do their work.
So in terms of what we are doing, the advantages of using a real estate agent, we are the custodians of best practices. If you engage somebody who is not affiliated to ZIEA, number one, if they misconduct themselves, who do you complain to? What recourse do you have? If they mismanage your funds, you pay to them. Are you sure that they have a separate account, a client account where they're supposed to hold clients' monies, or are they putting in their expenses, general living expenses, together with clients' money? So all those things sort of.
So you're protected as you're dealing
with a registered estate agent. You're protected. Every member of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents we've got what is called the Fidelity Fund under ZIEA, to which all members pool in a certain amount into there. And should a member of the public find themselves in an unfortunate event of losing money from one of our members, a certain portion of what they have lost, depending, on the amount, maybe
is pulled from the Fidelity Fund.
Yes, absolutely.
So the Fidelity Fund is outside of the membership that members pay to the institution.
Yeah, it's a separate fund.
Okay, all right.
That's managed by insurance companies.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. It's pretty much like an insurance. You've
Yes,
taken out
absolutely.
insurance.
Yeah, you've taken out insurance.
Okay,
yeah,
I like
absolutely.
that. I like
Yeah.
that you've taken
But
out.
if you're dealing with somebody who you've just met on the street, a fly-by-night, what happens if they go and show you a property which they purport to be agents for, and you give them this money and they
Right.
disappear? You know?
And that happens a lot. That's a very common story. People have been swindled of so much money
Absolutely.
because of people who are just going about. Well, it's actually some people have actually made scamming people the actual job. That's what they do. They will never get you that
Yeah,
property.
absolutely.
They will never do that.
Yeah.
And so you've talked about the benefits of making sure that when it comes to managing or dealing with real estate, you have people who come from the institute itself. You mentioned best practices. For example, you just mentioned that money collected is not put in the same account as personal monies. There's a client account. What are the best practices does ZIEA make sure that their members uphold?
Okay, right now we've got the financial intelligence laws
Right.
and the FIC Act of Zambia. We are trying to make sure that we safeguard our economy, that all monies that are coming into Zambia or filtering themselves into our economy is real money from hard work.
So
and
avoiding
not
laundered money.
avoiding laundered money. Yeah,
Right.
so avoiding money coming from outside to be laundered here to finance terrorist activities, because we are not immune to terrorist activities
Right.
or attacks.
Yeah,
You know, we don't want to be a launching pad for all these illegal and diabolic activities. So when you're dealing with a registered estate agent, you are assured that all the due diligence is being carried out both on the people who are coming to lease, to buy, as well as the property owners, because sometimes people may have somehow filtered through some money and invested it in real estate illegally. So before these people are onboarded an estate agent's business or listing, they have to be checked.
Right. Bryan, I like that you mentioned the whole issue of laundering money, because definitely that's one of the ways people try to clean up their monies.
Absolutely.
By investing in land
Absolutely.
and buildings and that type of thing. So if you've just joined us, my name is Kamwata Mayondi, and you are watching Talk With, and we're talking with Bryan Mushota, who is the president of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents. So Bryan, we've talked about lots of things from middlemen, we've talked about best practices, and so how does the real estate market work? You've talked about key players like valuers, architects, and actual agents. So just help us understand how each of these people tie into the bigger picture and what is the real estate market.
Okay, so we're going to role play here.
Okay.
So
Yes.
say I'm selling a piece of land
Mhm.
in a development.
Mhm.
You Kamota, come and purchase this piece of land from me.
Mhm.
You are going to, number one, require a lawyer to make sure that what I'm selling is indeed legal. All the information and facts that I've given you are as registered with the Lands and Deeds Office in the Ministry of Lands.
Mhm.
So once your lawyer advises you that everything is legit and you're satisfied, then you make that purchase. You then move on to the design of your beautiful house.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then to design that, the architect, you need to get a real good qualified architect. The acronym of the body for architects is similar to us. They're also called ZIEA, but then for them it's ZIA. So you've got to engage the services of an architect Depending, some architects could are also quantity surveyors, but if it's a bigger project, it's recommended that you involve a quantity surveyor who is going to tell you what materials you need and how much it's going to cost you, and then electrical engineers, structural engineers, civil engineers, and things like that.
Right.
So it's quite a cascading
yes.
sort of.
So I like that you have now given we've gone from me acquiring the land, we've got an architect, we've got the design, we have the actual structure.
Yeah.
And now the valuation of my property. I have this beautiful house, or whether it's a shopping complex. The valuation of property.
Right.
Right. And this is something that I'll speak as a Lusaka resident.
Yes.
This is something that can sometimes seem a bit confusing. You're like, okay, but this one is bigger, this one is fancier, but this one is, the asking price is way higher, this one is in a less posh neighborhood. How is there standardization? Should there be standardization? How does ZIEA help us understand these factors?
Okay, so you've bought your piece of land, you've built it, you've got this very nice house. I like the way you mentioned posh area. They say there's three most important factors in real estate which influence value. The first one is location. The second one is location.
Location.
And the third one is location.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So location. You buy property based on who is your neighbor. So you sometimes you might argue to say, but I've got a bigger property to the other one in this XYZ neighborhood. How come it's more expensive? But what you haven't checked is who is the neighbor. You could have a celebrity from Mpali, living there, and that creates some sort of value. You could be staying next to a Hollywood. What do you call it? The Zambia film industry. Something like that. Right. Yeah. So what gives value? Number one is demand. I always like to give this example of a ballpoint pen. It's a very simple economics. It's simple economics of what creates value in a good or services is a demand for it. So if there is no demand for something, then
it's got no value.
It's got no value. So the higher the demand, the better, the higher the value. So the fact that there is somebody wants to live next to a school, to an office, to a new hotel, lifestyle determines what the value
is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in as much as I totally understand and get the fact that it's all about location, but we still sometimes get some discrepancies in location. For example, if I design a very, very beautiful house in a what was the term we had been talking about, in a densely populated area, right? Right, that's the correct term. So I have this house, and the area is the house is great, the area is not as great, and I have poured a lot into this house. Do I then say, look, this house is, say for example, if the house value is 500,000 or 2 million kwacha or 1 million kwacha, do I then say, look, but this house, despite the fact that, maybe my neighbor might be a thief, or maybe it might be I don't have a tarred road, or the hospital or the nearest mall is very far away, but this house is worth 500,000 kwacha. How do we tie back these discrepancies?
Absolutely. Good
Because
question.
I feel that way about my house, so you
Good
can't tell
question.
me that no, because it's not close enough to the hospital or the mall.
Yeah. I wished sentiments could pay the bills.
The way that one feels.
Well, basically, what you put in a property is not guaranteed that you will get out. There's various factors, and when we were talking, and I hope I'm not preempting what you've prepared to discuss here, there's different scenarios that might affect value. Sometimes we work in an industry where when you're getting into like 2021, into election time, certain sort of foreign investors would say, we want to wait until, we
want to see how it goes.
Yeah, we want to see how it goes. But then it always goes the same way. Zambians are peaceful. We may slap each other once in a while, but at the end of the day, we'll still meet together to have a meal, to have a drink, a coffee. So in terms of how the value works, it just depends on the times. On the times that you are in, right. And the policies obviously of the government, of the economy, are the banks lending. We right now we are in Zambia. We're mostly a cash market. If you want to buy real estate and you want to go and borrow from the bank, it's expensive. It's unsustainable. So these are the factors that
are in play in the market.
So if there is readily available capital, the prices will go up. If capital is tight, there's few people who have got money, so the prices have to come down.
Right.
If there is a pandemic like we are in now,
the prices
they should come down.
down.
I'm not saying they have come down, but they should come down.
I hope no one is watching this and saying the ZIEA president said the prices have to go down. Well,
it's reality.
Right.
It's reality. I mean, unless you're a billionaire who wants to throw away money, and I've dealt with a lot of billionaires, they're the most strict when it comes to money. So nobody likes to lose money. So either you adjust to suit the times or you bleed money.
Right, that is true. So if you have anything to add to the conversation or you'd like to ask a question, the number to reach us in studio is 0976 599 547. So that's 0976 599 547. We're speaking with the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents President, Mr. Bryan Mushota. And so getting into the Zambian dream, when I think of the Zambian dream, I feel every Zambian, the Zambian dream to me is aspirational. If you're in Lusaka, maybe it's to buy a plot in Chalala and build flats, or if New Kasama.
I like that idea of building flats.
Right? Now, when it comes to the Zambian dream and what you've just said, should we then build according to where your piece of land is? Because you talked about the value that you put in may not be the value you get out. So what's best practice as people go around the Zambian dream? Because I really believe most Zambians are looking to become landlords. That is a common dream for most of us.
Okay, so I'll wear another hat as a property consultant. My advice, of course, people pay me for being a consultant, so I'm getting this for free. And I won't go too much into details. Contact me and we'll give you a nice bill.
We're grateful for this little tip.
Yeah. The idea of real estate investment, especially to the younger people who are have started earning money, they've got access to either financing or they've saved up enough money. What I would advise them to do is to acquire property anywhere. It doesn't matter where the property is situated. We were chatting before and we spoke of a certain area in Lusaka called Chalala. Tell me, do you remember what Chalala was like a few years ago?
Yes.
How were the roads?
There were hardly any roads. There was just, everything was off one road.
Exactly.
Right.
But the forward-thinking investors that went in, bought and invested, are laughing all the way to the bank right now. So there is no place on earth where you own your own property which could ever be situated too far out. If you've got an opportunity to buy Chongwe, Chibombo, what's the new hot area now that a lot of people are cutting up? 10 miles.
Oh, right.
All these areas, Lusaka West.
Miles, yeah.
Buy land, sit on it, or develop, don't immediately set out, especially if you are a rookie investor, a novice investor, a starting out investor.
It's okay to just hold on to it.
You can hold on to it, but then also don't start by building your house first. It doesn't really add up. It's you would make savings in not paying rent, but don't build a huge house,
right,
which number one, you struggle to finish off. Number two, after you finish your house, then what? You're living in this big house, and then what is it generating for you? It's bleeding money. You have to pay rates, you have to pay taxes. If you can start out by, asking your architect to develop maybe a semi-detached house, live in one, rent out the other. Even if you're not ready to finish the other house, but live in your one house, and then as and when finances start trickling in, you can finish the other house, and it will create a springboard for you to start your
other things.
Real estate investment game.
In the start of the show, we talked about the different type of a real estate one could have. It could either be commercial, agricultural, or residential. Where is the most value if someone, say, wants to become a major player in the real estate market? Where's the most value?
The most value is in land. Just buy land.
It doesn't matter what. Just buy the land.
Buy land and speak to a registered estate agent. We've got more than. We were talking about the 1,000 people dotted around the country. Speak to these guys. They are your local professionals. Ask them questions. Ask them hard questions. Ask them to back up their facts, what they are talking about. After all, they are trained. We take them through all this training at ZIEA, in addition to their degrees and certificates, that they hold. We train them in the real estate business. So speak to them. And then they will guide you on how to go about everything.
And so now, looking at our viewership and the demographic, rent. So the average Zambian, especially like in the youth brackets, these are people who are renting houses, and I'm sure the dream or the goal is to one day also become landlords. So what are some of the best practices that people who are renting or looking to get a lease should be on the lookout for? Are there any red flags? And so first, let's start with looking for homes. How do we avoid it's a bit of Facebook has so many people who are on there every day. There's so many houses in this area viewing. So just help us understand from that point. First thing, you find a house. How best to not get scammed as you're entering into this lease agreement?
Okay, so firstly, your red flag as to whether you're dealing with a legitimate estate agent or not is viewing fee. In Zambia, the estate agent's fees are traditionally paid by the person who engages them to do that work. And traditionally, it's the property owner, the landlord, the seller. So if you respond to an advert which I have put out to say I'm selling a property or I'm renting a property, why should you have to pay me again to look at that property?
Right.
You just come and look at the property.
So that's a red flag.
If you like it, we discuss further. We go to the office, not in the car and start counting money. We go to the office. If you don't like it, tough.
Well and good.
Well and good. We part ways, or we exchange pleasantries, phone numbers. If I find something else, I can contact you. But I shouldn't have to come and demand from you to say, we looked at the house, so now I found you another one, so pay me. I've got to be clear that, do you want me to find you another house? But this is going to cost you X, Y, Z. So you've got to agree. There's got to be an agreement between you and I. I shouldn't just impose terms and fees on you. Right. So that's the number one red flag. Number two is just to ask the hard question. Are you ZIEA registered? Yes. What's your certificate number? Or I even know the president, I've got his number. Would you be comfortable with me checking with ZIEA if you are really
registered for this work?
Who you say you are? So those are some of the steps you can take. Number 3, don't be in too much of a hurry when you're looking for a property. You opening up yourself to being scammed. Members of the public out there, hear me out. If you know that you're going to be moving in December, why do you want to start looking 3 weeks into November for a house? Then you're going to meet this estate agent promising you paradise, and you end up being scammed. Start early. Test us out. Where there's 1,000 of us, see, compare the service and the products that we are offering, So don't be in so much of a hurry, and so on and so forth, Yeah.
So I like how you've cautioned to say, look, there's an institute where ideally this person should belong. Do your due diligence as well on who you are trusting with your money or looking for a place for you. Which brings me to the next step. If all that goes well, you have worked with an agent and now you're actually ready to move. A lot of agreements between landlords and tenants are very informal in Zambia, and the norm, whether you're on Facebook, or most people actually look for houses on Facebook, there's a requirement to be sure to pay 2 months up front. Some will say 3, and that's it. So should we be pressured into finding 3 months worth of rent before moving? Is that legal? There's always a debate on this. I like that pause. Pausing is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
The Rent Act stipulates that a property owner may not ask for more than a month's rent and deposit, so 2 months rent. That's what the law says. But that does not stop a property owner from setting out other terms and conditions in their property. So if they have brought it to you prior to signing and that these are their terms and conditions, it's up to you to negotiate. If they don't agree, you lose a house, they lose a potential customer, you walk. But what is happening, what we've been seeing over the years, is that because of the housing deficit, sort of an informal or parallel law has been running, and it's been widely accepted.
It seems like it's just the norm.
It's just the norm, and let's face it, most of us don't like reading as Africans. This is clear, and it's in black and white. You search on right now we are streaming live on the internet. You can go on the internet right now and look for these acts of the laws of Zambia, and you'll find these laws. Number 2 is to speak to your professional, your registered estate agent or lawyer, before you sign any contract or before you make any agreement.
Verbal or otherwise.
Verbal or in writing. Speak to a professional in that field. So talking about the red flags, the red flags are also not just on the estate agents. The red flags should also be on the landlords. Because why do they want to cut out the professionals? Could be a red flag as well. Because maybe they're not the actual owners.
Right. Some adverts will say no agents.
Maybe they are the actual owners, or maybe they are money launderers. So they know that if they involve ZIEA, ZIEA will find them out. So why should they say no agents? Of course, the Estate Agents Act, the law of estate agency, right now, before it is repealed, does not exclude or does not stop the owner of the property from advertising it themselves.
Right. How they see fit.
How they see fit. What it does not allow them to do, or it does not allow a person to do, is after they've rented out their property and they've got a pool of people who are looking at their property, they set out now as a business to go to your property and try to find tenants for it. That's illegal. They would have started a state agency.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how come right now we've seen a lot of adverts out there for sale by owner. In terms of even land for sale, they're advertising on their own, and also for rentals as well.
Right.
So, but it's the various professionals need to play their part. You cannot. Of course, you can. For example, you can want to represent yourself in a court of law, but it's better if you engage a lawyer.
Right. All right. So if you've just joined us, you are watching Talk With, and we're talking with Mr. Bryan Mushota, who is the president of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents. I'm Kamota Mayondi, and if you have anything that you'd like to ask or contribute to tonight's episode of Talk With, the number to reach us on is 0976 599 547. So Bryan, which brings me to the next category of property. Malls. Lusaka is a growing city. We have so many roads, we have so many malls going up, we have commercial spaces, office space, that type of thing. So many of them are empty, and yet we still keep seeing building after building going up, whether it's a mall, whether it's a office park. What's going on in the market with regard to this?
Okay, firstly, I was fortunate about 20 years ago to have worked in out of an office which was at Zambia's first mall, Mande Hill Mall, with quite a big reputable name in real estate then. Malls were a new thing. The malls were buzzing. Rents were in dollars and
per square
meter, and they're still in dollars. You know, there was demand. We spoke about it earlier, that demand is what drives value and price. So right now, what we are seeing is that economic activity has slowed. It's subdued. We'll be lucky to experience growth of under 3% this year,
according what the economists.
That's what the economists are telling us, and now as the land economists have to work backwards and see how that's going to affect our market. So virtually every section of our economy is affected. Now, what this should tell landlords or investors is that the units are empty, number one, because their tenants are struggling.
Right.
They can't pay those rentals. Number two, maybe there's just so many of them. There's variety now. So if you see what's happening now, tenants are just moving from one mall to another. You know, they were at this mall, now they move to another. Then you know that you've reached kind of like saturation levels. We're not attracting other retail outlets or retail tenants to come in and work. But we shouldn't only look at retail names that are coming from abroad or overseas. We should look within ourselves. You know, we are so entrepreneurial. Look at this TV station. It's a youthful TV station of entrepreneurs. So this is very good, meaning that we have it in us as Zambians to start ventures, to be entrepreneurs. So the government and bodies like ourselves need to support these young entrepreneurs by influencing policy.
Right. It all starts with policy. So that way we may have less empty spaces with regard to commercial, whether it's in a mall, because it's true, we do have such an entrepreneur spirit in Zambia.
Absolutely.
And there's so many startups that are operating out of homes that could benefit, if policy was right, from these beautiful buildings that are running empty around.
Yeah, but also may I add that it looks like we've got so many malls and commercial buildings going on right now, but it could be that these projects were started maybe even 5 years ago, when everything was okay.
Right.
And maybe that's when they sourced their funding. And these are projects that are just...
construction is a bit of
that are rolling out. Earlier this morning, I was quite fortunate to be on a private guided tour of one of the wonderful facilities that we have just outside Lusaka at Bonanza, where they have a beautiful 4-5-star hotel, I think to be 5-star, because the facilities I saw are not your usual facilities.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, we welcome these facilities which are coming up. These are facilities which were planned and penned a few years ago and are just being implemented now.
Right.
So it's good that we are experiencing world-class facilities in Zambia.
Right.
So we're going to have the Lusaka
fancy
international convention center,
which is exciting.
Very soon, yeah.
Which is exciting. And we've talked about empty spaces, and COVID-19 has hit globally and it's affected every industry. We have seen a change, a shift in the way that life is happening. In more advanced countries, we're seeing people shifting to working from home. And in Zambia, even before COVID hit, we generally had an economy that was struggling. Do you feel that the way that COVID has hit and the way that life is generally changing, will we see the change in use of some buildings, for example, that were initially intended to be maybe shops? Will they then become studio apartments, for example, in places like New York, where people just have this large space and then it's turned into housing? Do you feel that could be the future of real estate in Zambia?
Well, absolutely. I did a paper sometime last year, a write-up on urban regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at our CBD of Lusaka, it's probably around the region one of the quietest,
Absolutely.
if I must say that, CBD after hours. I mean, we're a youthful population. We're vibrant. You know, things shouldn't die just because we've knocked off from work. They're supposed to be having all these fancy fast food outlets, gaming facilities,
or potentially
restaurants, and then redundant spaces because of parking space problems can be converted into student accommodation as well as apartments. Young graduates are coming out of university all the time. Where are they going to stay? We have a backlog in excess of 2 million housing units as a country. We shouldn't always just look at...
And you said this is affordable housing.
Affordable housing. We shouldn't just look at building more facilities, but how are we optimizing what we already have? If we are saying that there is no space around the CBD for parking for offices, and corporates are moving away and creating other nodes of offices, why don't we share them? You know, if people live in the city, that's sustainable. They can live in the city and work from there. Means less cars, less traffic on the roads. The Lusaka City Council should really be looking at, as well as the other local authorities.
Right. So that sounds extremely exciting. On that note, we come to the end of this week's episode of Talk With. We were talking with Bryan Mushota, who is the president of the Zambia Institute of Estate Agents. It was such a lovely conversation. I enjoyed speaking with you. And from me, Kamota Mayondi, catch you next Friday and see who we talk with next week. Good night and God bless you.
Good night.
Thank you.